Toshach Liu to skip it now the vodlich na halape hiet game ik Melissa Andriata is he could faatje it's skipping a hoster biosho it BBC halape Faatje de gepad gehamden ideiche idakalile schon game bal kosche gus game gemamor to skip it vodlich na halape ha verstuurd uur aan de Melissa Andriata Ik sam talit dira column cos me chumar kerst the show does ne padke ha art coach Hibernian and Grant Scott. Grant, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on BBC Alpha on what's going to be an interesting night with a new coach and a new sense of promise maybe around about the international side.
Yes, I hope so. I hope that's what we see. There's certainly positive lineup. A lot of Melissa's language has been very positive about the energy she wants from the team. So I think, yeah, it's an interesting prospect.
And looking at it as well, looking at the table, obviously these sides have met earlier on in the campaign and Austria got the better of Scotland at that time, but it was a tight affair and Scotland have a really good opportunity here even though they know they need to get 2 goals.
Yeah, I think home advantage is key here, but there wasn't much between the sides in the first game, and I think the goalkeeper, Austrian goalkeeper, had a good save at some point to keep us out. So I think, yeah, we've got to take the game. It's a positive lineup, and when you know you've got to win, I think that can put you on the front foot early in the game, hopefully.
Grant, stay where you are for just now. Draast as in dolgein die wanneer jij he de stuurde gaal. Ik skippe voddenlich na halape shishe. Melissa Andriata agus woord Aliko Henley fachtelore pikken op betraaien.
Melissa, from a personal point of view, first of all, what are your emotions as you prepare to lead Scotland out for the first time at Hampden?
My emotions are there. I can definitely feel a good feeling. I'm feeling super proud and excited for what's to come, and on the back of a really positive week and with a lot of progress made, I'm feeling confident as well.
You know we need to win this game by 2 goals really to be in with a shout of finishing third. How confident are you from what you've seen from the players that they can deliver that result tonight?
Yeah, I think that confidence has grown from what I've seen in their league games with their clubs, and then on the back of the training week that we've had with country, it's been really positive, and the players have been so open and willing to take on our game plan, and I'm confident that they can put in a performance that they need to in order to turn that result around.
Melissa Andriata Shen Esche. If you'd like to follow the match in English language commentary, you have that option available on the red button, and that is in the company of Stuart Mitchell. A Shokata and the Gaelic is BBC Alape, hashing on the Kutjak, Ernyoliche Heen, Aliko Henley.
Shinawin Ali, more than tank. I guess Falcha the go Hampden for Vlas. Green and Yisker, I guess Stochakaville. Melissa Andriata, the Jew Heaches, Le Australia, Kutjak, be Dochas. Gebied Gileore, you know, is some 3 ping in a hoek like Jid and Huiche, is a daskipper. China Macher and Cuthbert, a Kelm, a Streich, a Gillap is be at the coin to Signal, the Seichkeship. I can see the corner who run again. Really, the Shak at this code kick by and run show. I guess Rana Kulish na Hound, when you shouldn't have been Nashant. I guess and put it on Jihad on the Streich. With Hashach at the shin, I guess the Fisk at Blam show. Have you Kus Jeffer guy? Vinanchester Magurs, Minach Naga, the Gal, Nagrini, I guess Luftach. And at the Vilchin, Stochach more the kid, Mila, Brain, the Path, I guess skipping a hoster at Dogan Streach Heen, with Hashach in the Feen Nashant, I guess she found Nashant in the hoster. Via Sound the Doshach and his ass and skip a Halavan Day.
And now led by our lone piper Stevie Small, the national anthem of Scotland, Flower of Scotland.
The fewn náisiúnta úsacha go dú, Lis Andriata, agus fewn náisiúnta mach as a rát, agus cafacha a luchtaich I game ein cadol, bí aingin haichin cimar a híd Andriata chimichal a seo, Bhna game bheit sin as an Oster ha skippe, hiad skippe I the hug a shiltin coach árachi and a Cuthbert Chile mian a pathge, Amy Rogers, Kuchachinus de Lauren Davidson, Frey Gregory a táiseach a hiad game eich te galapa agus Kathleen McGovern, apad chorm yísh a shui, a season a bhíeich kibs, fain hiad chorm táiseach agus Rachel Corsiga de Vengis, Sean Gemich and Megiddig eich te galapa ma heitel a nochgu, some tourist Megiddig a Camden Femi Shinny, you know, Farna Bengi a noch. Agus skipper yn noster at da arach yw sy'n fan y gem mae gedig ach da arach a cwtioch fan y gem fe sy'n astrai yn y iala besat y chyn at y chŵl Laura Weinreuther sy'n ystau agus Marina Georgieva sy'n ystau fan y gem mae gedig cwtioch gyda sy'n Caro D'Angelo agus Claudia Wenger agus chwchyd enw Fengi y Chilig Nicole Billa agus Eileen Campbell Rwynion gyma cwach gachag Alexander Schriebel mae has o'n skipper arach yw mae ys y gem at ladur da ys cynig pwyn gylior gan y noster yn och. Agus skipper mi yn y bathge condis yn y reach ydyn. Mae sy'n chydig gem, ti'n ffeinio chorlim y gydig. Sarah Puntingham, skipper ac yn noster Caroline Weir. Cthys na halapa McGarchen uadela. Agus chorgan y skipper galapa. Gewoon een kerkel. Tsjech gedach me gedig het lamach. Eid hosach het game. Vinnig gezet. Maar dat was een kleintje. En je waan je vinnig. Je gaat vinnig. Let daar huilen waarach. Maar zo'n geef. Agus nosted maar aan elkaar. Je was een punt. Besjen kuljoor geef. Het hosach het game. Me gedig achjes een neune kera match. Caroline Weir. Agus kaag. Kutje. Kedi een game met akel. In een Holland. Jana. Je marsch. Is toch gefamous wat ik in hoort as a game. Should kutje a chadras 3 punten in de show. Da huil maar surringijp. Na reetje dan as a Spanje nog. Marta Diaza. Reetje de fijn taich voor Guadalupe Ayuso. Agus Eliana Gonzalez. Geraf of ik kutje as a Spanje. Ainara Acevedo. And Grant, both teams know what they have to do here. Scotland need to win by 2, but Austria, a point will do them, so it's going to be intriguing as to how both coaches go about this in the early stages.
Yes, I think so, Alec. I think sometimes when you have to win, it can put you on the front foot and it gives you a real focus. Austria, on the other hand, you know, it'd be interesting to see if they try and put the game to bed or if they try and steal a point. Yeah, it's an interesting, intriguing contest.
Agus Jew Isker is on game ball kosher kutjach. Agus drip me gedig a chynnig da gúig seo Camden. Gile alapa tul gynioni. Abby Harrison who the tul I neikishin. Femi at stoch a picken. John a picken a share na sin an och. Agus mas toshki game be minach je voel in a basal marchine. If er a basje vina Chamsuye. It come ball kosher na halapa Jack McGinn. Agus cúteach rain sin na chariche i Celtic, I bhásich buchan gadich, agus deachgadach siachat an lamach Michael na páthce, agus tá sé chi vinach de bhúil na basta sin ar a héitis I réite de I níteach eiche. Minach gemacht gadich bhesit ach réite de Het geleorig Lingen, Kafa Gorische, maar wie is een klikje aan de game mijn kantop. Dus kan kolach gereden helpen de nation. Alleen weer de sport de miang in de paadje. Dus nu lijn het Gian, hij is hoogste gaan de riet. De helpen, Tasha Guri is er nog. Dus Caroline weer met Ashkan lijn het Gian. Dus Sophie Howard ga school gemaakt. Thuval, naast de teen, het was een keer dat je goed. Die aan de Zulen. Ik heb dan een naast zich hier le. Er in een handshot, ik West Ham, fijn. Hier gaat een bal gezocht lijnen. En is het Gida gemaakt. En de Lawton. With a foul. That's a nimmer shot. And you're Kuskishin of the Galapet, Alexander Striebel. That's in the tool of good as the Hula games. Bishina Ravagas and all up a dras at the Fiachen die Shechiat Imsiach go hoka. Alleen weer Fiachen die Kutje Machumal en de Klikidan Gianna en Osterse Vokse. De Vinje Kedash. Die is gehoka als ge de fall Sira Puntingham, skipper de Canoster, agus had de de plistje ik gaan nille. Gibson de Marketa, en de Lawton het in Conlag, een is Pucella, hoe de duel zich hier game. Kus zit er daar skipper de Neijach gaf Noster Gorm, had de gaf allapena, Gorm en de Wachkesen. En Wille Sinsberger de Vinnik Champions League kon de Arsenal, de de Gachkens de Gaia naar Barcelona. En de gloos het Gemal Loer. Hopinger aan de keer Giak Kutremach gaf. Bare Dame en je shouldn't zag de mee aan de paadje. Kan je rapen Gumale Devau, ergens Pucheller. Geen maar getuig. Shouldn't China de Koelig. Met zijn Sjordash, Paulich en Tarsing. Er is een skippelgeusje in zijn alpe waar Ern Cuthbert Donje ze boek zich heen. Er is Karmasho. District Shia Selena. Davidson de vierde Shinny en nog statke gedaan. But a bright, confident start from the visitors' ground.
Yeah, I think Scotland have just, missed the first few contacts and not quite secured the ball when they should have there. But early stages, but we probably don't want to let Austria get too much of a head of steam up here. Yeah, but patience will be key as well.
Sinsberger, Gaglos at the Macha, the Ish Charoom, Machke Deval, Hanshol at Paulus Dice, Ish, Sophie Howard, Azarat, Caroline Weir, Tjechafechen, the Kassige Devals, Gronchen Hocker Geschiers picken. Bigger fall-offs, Dodash, Howard, here is Jenna Clark, Nianolina Gian. Muur, Glasgow City, Dash, Skipper en Iskutjach. Zo is Lena, Shanna Sharbo al op, en weer de puchtige stij. En is prachtig zo is en Govern, dat puchtige stij en een bokse. Better from Scotland and just maybe Kathleen, maybe a wee bit too eager to make her impression in her debut.
Yeah, I can imagine the nerves will be churning in her just now, but that's a typical Kathleen run. She loves being on the shoulder as well as being able to take the ball into feet and with defenders behind her. She loves that little one just from outside the box to in. But you're right, just gone a little bit too early there.
But it's great to see her get a reward for a fantastic season.
Yes, obviously I'm very proud that she's in the squad first and foremost, and I think it's really impressive statement from Melissa, just to have the faith to throw a younger player in there. But yeah, great reward for a terrific season that she's had for us, certainly at Hibs.
Nuringi Sheloch of this season, Bienvelicht to be fine tell, Haki de Tanashente, was a Suez for Ush, Trierichit, Cuthbert, Le Paul, Suez Olena, Davidson, Lokilaris and Feinike. Two vowel van en Cuthbert Suez de Duschen in a fath, Kach, Harsink, Castelik, this is Shin va Virginia Kirschberger. Lawton, Fede close with McKenyev. I guess Shachat. McGovern, I guess a mach. Of course, Kiesje en Strijder Jachin, que willen die Kelly Triach. Vorige taste en Gaule Kassen Villa. Stuur je op balans de kloentje, de fijne Ashford. Dus toch gewoon schon nog Kasti. Race maar eens een game met al aan McKenyev. Is er een kaal shot? Dat je kan zeggen, gewoon een jiggle. That's an unusual one, Grant. Usually it's the goalkeeper playing it to an outfield player, but it's the outfield player playing it to the goalkeeper.
Yeah, I'm not quite cottoned on to this modern way of doing that. I think all you're doing is inviting pressure if a team wants to come and press you with that one, but it's always a bit strange, I think.
Lucian, en als er het grote Suez gekomen is, de paadje Hickelsberger. Samaische correur tussen de Suez, Lena, Gregory. Newcastle United de dash. Toen ik daar is er, dash echt gekta. Vandaag in wel op een magas de noshing als je niet muur. Park smaak die giske ook al fall af Suez kan McGovern to Huig. De dash ke Caroline Weir. En is Kai Sategestech. Daar Hobinger. Caroline Weir kan we kut mag. Roenak Real Madrid. Speel op de dag is kunnen we kloeien kan nu niet nog nu het 4-1 en een Cuthbert Kuchak. Muur. Weer. Zo met de weer is het Tsjechle. Zat ik Tsjechele. Rogers. Hier is Caroline Weer Kale zat ik Tsjech. McGovern, looking you tuned at a cheval. Weir. Clark. Rina Georgieva, Dashko Sinsberger, Haka Khudamach, Duvela, I guess Andriata Lashike, Gianna Sulen, Grien, Antal 4, Namsiganiska. Sophie Howard in the station, Kovacic, Lily Pruchella, Fiach in the Slee, and was Stig and a Buxakalapa. All of that, Shakanosta. Die is gewoon live geleid. Pauletje en Tarsing. Die is Sophie Howard de hopperig. Gemaakt 3 Baltrase game. En mijn loten kan wraken in een zatje vallen. Maar is Cuthbert en Ocean en Ashton is leeg heen. Ik kan kutje me show. Ik kan osten. Die is chakelijk te dag gemoeid. Doet wel punten gaan skippen. Dat is Paul Koenart of Tarsing. Dat is ja, dat is Hickelsberger, fine stage, cool. But again, Grant, bit worrying from a Scottish point of view, the room that's available down that left-hand side for Austria.
Yes, I think we were once again, Scotland were a bit scrappy just with their clearances and a bit frantic. And it just led to Austria having that overload with the full-back overlapping there. So, yeah, just something to guard against. We need to probably, out of possession, just stay a bit more switched on. But first and foremost, probably make our clearances a bit better.
We shouldn't get the mark for developing it. We shouldn't say Ocean of his own. Shashing. That's the Noshing. And the Shashing got hook on a stay. Moon Lee Gibson's in your mat. Wow, Vine of the Shinsa could have fall off. Aaron Davidson I ddifawl agus Guy Vripamach. It's an important fingertip save from Lee Gibson there.
Yeah, always a tricky one for the goalkeepers, that right on top of them, but she's dealt with that one excellently and just continued the ball on a slightly different path over her head there, so well done to Lee on that one.
Gibson. I think it's Darake Bachianoch. Dish Balkaran Min Gurem gewassen mag wat Jenna Clarks had goal dash. En Hoster me in a pathke. Chashing Idash. Marie Therese Hobinger. Carmach Gushel, I guess you shachat to the first, I guess it is Julia Hickelsberger of Anwlish. And again, Grant just opened up for Hickelsberger inside the box, and this wasn't too far away.
Yeah, I think again it's just a bit sloppiness and probably just need to settle ourselves down. But you never really want to see a player enter in your area that close to goal under very, very little stress.
Well, I think we've answered the question we asked at the top. I think Austria are here obviously to win. They're not setting up the stall for a draw anyway.
Doesn't look like it at all. I think you know, in these situations sometimes taking the game to your opponent is the best play, and it puts your opponent, who equally needs to win the match, under even more stress. So it's certainly a good game plan, and they've started the game very well.
Geramal Chipinic game Miller. Helkignani, I think if it's in the Alakins, give a Geramal and all, and Doggle try it. Achkovas the Dresa, Jashin, Kish, hasn't though Yak in the Oostelgain, Moch goes an eye march, Chadras, Shane Oster, Scully here at her line a shot. Howard the East. Skippelge kronk en het je goed te galappen. Al Suus gaan er nu. Ik heb een kleine dasje daar op. Cuthbert vallen de eerste gaat gauw van drogaatje mee in de paadje. Agus de Noster. Koperge die eerste mag een live glie verder wel laat. De large tra zich hier 10 minuten nummer in gaan game. Die is schön verle bouw wat al mag. Maka Humala stegen de Valke, Granke Schiesco, Pucella. Is balkona te gemaakt go de Vokse. Weinreuther ka Hoka, lages Voaster. Lee Gibson, da person Shin, Aini Darakac. Sadrazil, na de Venuja, Kagadish, me Guremach, Lishe, Vaulemach and Grant. That just comes again from just rushed clearances, which is just going straight back to the Austrian players.
Yeah, it's inviting a bit of pressure, and you've got a player of Zadrazil's quality in there, been at Bayern a long time. To have the ball drop into her on the edge of your area like that's quite dangerous. But you know, as I said earlier, I think probably just need to settle, get her foot on the ball for a few minutes, string together a few passes, and yeah, things should improve. I would certainly think.
Just 3 bouwlijnen vallen we eraan stallen. Hoe het hele Noster moeilijk schiet live glie. Pucella, bal snokken. Dash! Agus Savel in my hele Lee Gibson. Agus Verena hand shot. Great play from the left back getting involved there, working with Pucella, and yet again great stop from Lee Gibson.
Yeah, magnificent stop. I think you know, that's the second or third time now that Hanshaw's created that overload, this time with the inside run. Gets a shot off, but credit to Lee, that's a terrific save.
De Gianna West Ham moeie hier het lijn. Agus had de Gianna die is van een Osha. Bal laat de hokker gaan afkoel te de grokke gedash. Agus geforstenig. Hoe dat zich zo de Gianna die is je goed. Agus de drapse she Georgieva va who is van een goed. Again, Grant, panic stations at the back, and this was probably an important touch there from Amy Rogers, just to make sure that initial shot didn't go on target.
Yeah, critical little touch that, wasn't it? Just allowed the next one to get the foot on. So, yeah, hopefully that's the scares over and done with for a little while.
Hey, Gregory. Gaan mailen. Nou, en je bal bewust van een stuk over de Vox. Dat gaat het tienje zijn al op. Agus Chikli, Noster, Manuelo Sinsberger. Shinemach. De boei mag met een klichtje daar McCunniff. Ga je naar Dash. Sadrazil, chyta tak Bayern Munich. O'r mas, a ffigyd cech bachgis ag an Oster. Trapsa, yn yle bawl sŵas o lein ac o Hanjo Cwpyd. Scotland just need to get a foot in the ball, Grant, get a couple of passes going, get a bit of confidence going through the players.
Yeah, I think it's something us coaches talk about a lot, is managing the sort of momentums in the game, and there's no doubt for maybe this last 10 minutes it's been a bit frantic from Scotland, but yeah, if they can get their foot on the ball, here we go. Oh, unlucky. Yeah, if we can string more of that together, I think you know, it'll settle the nerves a little bit, and the confidence will grow.
And they needed that reaction given the kind of the sustained pressure they've been under the other end.
Yeah, I think it was nice link-up play, and you've for the first time seen Erin get beyond the forwards with one of those runs that she traditionally makes, and yeah, it's definitely a chance that she'll probably want back again to get a better connection.
Coach Ure, I can pick in a smishnig a lefankin shin, maar we grant ik raar zit de giet trap ha Erin Cuthbert de vi huis ek chance in a faad gefiach die Jeffrey en se vokse en die 3 spelare dash kan nelle in paad ge kuchugul in a gian. Sinsberger to macha se vokse hier. Georgieva. En de doper gesoos alleenig. Wat dat asjes aan Purcell fijn ik. Muir. Krijg je misschien een nas Ashkara. Stikken McGovern. Ashka Muir ga je tune dat gesteach ka tripletje sin. Agus Oster ka gutje follow. Purcell out of a ficket. Was the follow of Clark. Ashka Georgieva. This guy in the dash. Was dat je talletje goeie nul nou uit je goed. Zijn woorden zo is een lijf duwe Sherlock kloetje. Yes, nu gaan show hoe maar steeds soering balken jaren dash. Shit, caught him. Annabelle Shashing gevound the Henneke did really well to keep that ball in play, and this was the best chance of the match. And fortunately, from a Scotland point of view, Shashing couldn't capitalise on the cutback from Purcell.
Yeah, I think probably just on her wrong foot. Not that we should excuse that, but her movement across from this near side to be inside the front post area is terrific. But we need to do better, Scotland, and track that as she enters that box.
Gibson en la fuse ruine leer slie. Die is mag aan het duivel. Scheller tegen de tune hier toe dat je gemaakt hebt. Trapse. Kan nu getol leelappe. Caroline Weir, de fakel of the PL5, dat is de kasser en is. Trying to get 40 minutes haast de verder hier tuilig. Als er kijk naar skuld en ik leeg armen in de via kalappen. En als die is verder kun je McGovern de bal nog maar steken als je taag vastgeren. Georgieva, kind of dash, and a jiggle. Was the tallest jiggle vi vurig als veel. Vi kar en pristje, en je zit de bal op berketa. En als je kalappe, en is meer, wie go dash, en is de bal chien, wie beheen kutjach. Dat kan krianig, maar de hoosje is de game ze in meer het je goed. Bertha, Salina, Ure Drapse, de Magadiestje, Oster de Sheer, eerlijk zo Salina, Sashke de Heurlijk Elpe. Sadrzi, kan staan per de Porsche, het vuurst again, zat de gestjach hoe is het? Rogers doch ysgydig sio mach, agos gyfforst yn chi eisiau chai, bydd y mach y fysawn. Gibson is alapă chumala se game like you savalig sonrichtje. Agus gar me per stocha a cannibal chassing fadach gynnyr chwyd gan y lian. Siachatydd McGovern. Agus sy'n ffyrst y ddysg yn oster Kirchberger tan sy'n chwyd a chwl. Yn y lain chli Uadela. Ys ddys Master Jyn y wyrd y sŵs y lain chli. So Noshang, Portscheller, iddo fi gymatrang ag ysaidd. Jyn dag y ffalas chafon a'ch dwyddig sŵs y lain. A lot yn tolig ach dwyddig i dy bawl chwm al ysdiach. Tiw heisen iddo fi eich ag Celtic a season iddo fi gyma trwy ag eisen. Cwg yf cep eich gynoch. Yw'n dyl yn na Holland. Bydd yna cael apau. De Wenk heb plagen in de Valrich, of course, he finds you out what a career she's had for Scotland Grant, and she'll want, if possible, to bow out with one final appearance here at Hampden.
Yes, most definitely. I think it'll be on our wish list. It's been a long road back this year from injury, as we all know. But I think for the new manager, especially to have her back in the squad, even if it's her final 2 appearances, it is invaluable for the experience she'll bring and the calmness that she will bring to the group. But yeah, I hope for Rachel's sake that we see her on the pitch at some point tonight.
Jedig Gipling al masdwedi i ddasach lichtig Aston Villa. Sy'n ysgydach am cyn ach ili tasach ydych yn ili bwlach yd gileis. Ach cwmysach ydych hyn ffer na bengi. Ys doch gybych camas eich i has. Dit y gêm sy'n noch sy'n bar y gêm sy'n ôl yn July March. Ydych chwych a cym gymasoch gyda chi chwfan yn oster. Bawl ard. Tan yn trichgad y synig yn o'ch adol trai gan triplech go Lee Gibson. Cafag chydydd Howard, ymwg i'ch ein y falaf gysgipolta. Ansio. Droch ein sy'n dwy fawl gyda. Agos fe sy'n sydd rip gan yn oster. Tiwch a tyfystau i li a galapa. Dydych G-siach gag e nwy, pwchtig sŵs goedd y fwgsa. Ysio. Tinting am ysgipad y chynas asgar a chad y tasiach y ddysg fan y chwl na dy bawl y chydystau cydgydach. Lawton, ein sŵg ydych sy'n. Ysio tŵchsym go, clicyd ad yn y lien i ierac yn hoster gyda. Georgieva. Tarsing ddysg yn y lain chli. Ansio, cwmysach yd garagos dy fferach lieg feidd y taring y ddasio sy'n le Lawton. Ansio and Purcell are proving to be a bit of a handful for Emma Lawton in this first period of the game.
Yeah, I think so. As we've said a few times now, that side, they're creating an overload. I'm quite impressed with the height that the Austrian fullbacks are getting. They're causing a real problem for the Scotland-wide attackers. They're having to do a lot of tracking back, and naturally it's not their game.
Klapse, mae'n kind of colach gylet at ddol hwg ar bawl ar dystau. Siachat e Porcella, agos Jenna Clark y hwyd y cawn. de Cheval, look at the Giannic Liverpool, look at the Machason per the Poshain, ach Tillig, open the Calap Shadiano, Christian Keenan ach Chicat the Yedig. Gieva, Miss Knuckletan had Puchtig Suez van a Goel, Puntig Emmes Kaag, Station Kutjach, Shashing, van een Oshing e Duval. Van een Foster. As I'm a lot from Junakina Nakangan as Sachin. Chiligistjach, he's a brachtig het al Suez. I guess Alappe. Fijn pikkend te gugu. Lawton, viechen Suez so lang Vieshak Alappe. Shachat de Davidson Kata. I guess Femi bal stitching ik nu. Naar hou van Goedje. Just a little example there, Grant. Emma Lawton with the ball up, but it has to stick to the front players so they can give the players at the back a bit of a break and get the midfielders up to join with the play.
Yes, I think that's a message that'll be coming on from the players at the back and possibly the manager. I think when we do get these little flashes of possession, we have to keep the ball a little bit better. And the forwards have just got to work to make it stick and try and gain us some territory at this point, just to get us out of our own defensive third, really.
We see vision for Sophie Howard. No, yeah, Porcella. Die is ja Pristjug. Noster as a Noshay. Cuthbert. Vore vleine heen. Kahiri kan net aan de paad getune dat ze kunnen karen. Die is maar hij forste nog gela Pristjug van een ja gaan door in te. Ik heb een super gemaakt. Lauren Davidson. Lawton. Davidson een fijn pick en te hoe gaat. Zo me gede gechin ver. Look at that chin ik Noster handshot. Ze staat te geschagen we staan te gala pe Duval. Gavern die is de schulting in de hand. Kan Taring denk er G kind te gezien Taring leentje in gelig. Maar de skippel geuse daar in de val af. Clark, Rashko Gibson. Wanneer ze misschien de Paulus Kieltje gaat het bij Aslish Howard. Die is gaan door in de Davidson. Graham Gumalet, Hanjo stay de cool kakuye. Alexander Schriebel. Hier het game verschillende geleerd. Sigaran. Een nieuwe game had de Vinnik. Het had de twee lijns een goede game van Noorsen. En dan nog met 3 punten en een ik er het is al op. Het dresaatje. Muur die is kind of zo'n close dan steko Amy Rogers, Dashko, Caroline Weir. Clark. Die met de goal Asjes aan de goal deur. Sophie Howard de keer de mag Lawton. Game Lawton kan more fijn Suez alive Yeshashin. Fijn kan wel in de paad gaan de wieder. Maar dat Asje leeg heen. Daar hadden we 4. En dan goed mooi en een skip ik al op. Blish Choco Caroline Weir. Juwen zie wel. Met al de boksen. Marie Tries Hopinger. Skip terug. Hier gaan Osten. Lawton. Wie is Tachje de moeie met Davidson. Lawton Kairi Dash. De kragen mag je Duval. Spel wel zeggen de lijnen kun je. Approaching the half hour, Grant. What do you think Melissa Andreatta will have made of the opening half hour?
I think overall she'll recognise a bit of nerves in the team. There's definitely a lack of composure at the moment. But I think you've seen little phases where once they get the ball into feet, the girls look like they're going to settle down eventually. But I do think we need some more pressure on the ball, and those are the things that she mentioned in our first couple of interviews on joining, and I think that she'll be looking to implement a higher start position, a bit more pressure on the ball, and then just that technical qualities when we get into that final third, and whether that's the players holding it up or linking the play a little bit better. But overall, I think we just need to be a little bit better with the ball.
Tolis me give steeg Leon, you can tell the howl. I guess Ashton Hoer Haas the goal kishin. Dag as kan er gave eens in a guy groeg kan in de paadje. Davidson en Keske Brand, na Lions. Look at the Glasgow City of Vinica League gave pick and Hayes and a dash. Brooks and Glasgow City, Rangers. Watson, die is Cuthbert Achenel. Kus ruin, je zat de gauw delen. Barach, kutje me share chin van een kliekje dat ik een noster. Paul Kadash mee aan een paadje. Shashinka, hoekal is de karantogesig. Splitje dash, go Purcella, raak hoekal van was de goede rotinje. Je mag een tripletje. Purcella, ik Essen. De Lungenthul, jene hier game met de daskipper, shin faske, darakhet aan Doisepi. Ik heb het ook plein richet. Gibson, eerste lippen mag, Caroline Beers 3, die 1. Versmach Sanuringi, Zadrazil, zoals via een paadje. Meer channel, maar gutje dash voor Julia Hickelsberger. Hoektjes dat gaan een rondje zo gaan een vaart. Hoekje dan een keer noster dash. Hickelsberger, hier ik krijg je een groene geschies. Austria quite happy to be patient in their approach, Grant, trying to entice Scotland out. And from a Scotland point of view, I guess it's important they don't fall into that trap to leave spaces that Austria can exploit.
Yes, I think that they're on the boundary of doing that the first spell of the game, where Austria definitely got their heads up and started well.
Hier bal kon te gaan tussen Porcella, I guess een mag haast. Hier wel dan ik stel voor Weinreuther, I guess Goverikschen en toen was tripletje. Moet je hier te lijn, Zadrazil en nu je bal dus lijkt dat. I guess Caroline Weir had dash. Notion de bal, Govern had coolig. Davidson's gaat Nuringi fijn genoeg. Really teasing cross here from Weinreuther, Grant, and no, it's into that area where you really need Lee Gibson to get to it, but it's in that corridor of doubt.
Yeah, that's the trickiest area for goalkeepers and defenders combined. I think when it's in that gap in between. In fairness to Lee, it's difficult with so many bodies, and you're never sure who's coming from our blind side. But it's equally as difficult for the defenders facing their own goal.
With a daslish, and het is goed met je verheilig alle, ach, had gemaakt koekelig uit je goal, game het eruit. Ik is geen te kroege kiljoor, ik nu oordelen. Ik vergeet dat een immertje, ga ik niet meer aan de paard. Ik ga je laten 15 kiljoor gaan val. Lee Jaren Cuthbert, Caroline Weir, game het al schachat eruit. Eerst Porcella, vijfde fijn het koele geleden Gian Howard, Sarad geta. Zadrazil gaat goed maar stay. I guess Sky in the dash. Eerst had een skuile gemaakt, gefarsing van de duur willen let Georgieva. I guess de bracht dat goed is. Nee, duur haal nu. Sarah Pintingham a skipper that. But what Austria have done quite well here, Grant, is you're looking at the key players for Scotland, Caroline Weir and Erin Cuthbert, but Austria have managed to keep the ball away from those kind of areas, so they've kind of negated that creative fulcrum from a Scotland point of view.
Yes, I think what they've done really well is used their tight midfield four. Each time the ball's in there, they've got the overload of numbers. So it's very difficult for Erin and Caroline, as our probably best ball players, to get on it. There always seems to be a spare Austrian player in there, which, you know, it's right now sitting at a 4v3 in there. So quite difficult for them to get on and dictate anything.
Georg Andriata, the famous Melrich, the show is Leeuwne. Groene skippen, famous gewaardig, staan fijn naar Aschken again. Het is met je puller, gefijn te steek, Leeuwne, kunt heel gauw. Gregory, ja, dat is een winkel Aschach, die is veilig genjaren, er is een zieke channel naar een oster, Chinemachrische val. Weer. Shabal het gas dies kan jullie fijn minutje getaan. We gaan leed Sadrzil in de moon Savina Chagas bal Masho Kala Tuchum go de Vox Cuthbert aan de Asje skippel. Die is Ekin in de val zijn al op het doen. Woedele onnodig even goed maar Shashing. Just seems to be pressure on the ball every time Scotland get it, Grant, and there's no control in the passing out from the back.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult. We're obviously getting dragged a little bit too deep and struggling to get any pressure on the ball at all. But I do think the overload they've got in the middle is key for Austria. And then when you see the height their fullbacks are, it's very, very difficult for the Scottish girls to find a pass out under no stress. And it's just leading to inviting that pressure from Austria again when we give it away.
Would you be thinking about making a change to that midfield setup?
I think perhaps. I think, you know, you're always caught in between sticking to your own principle and your own setup, but you know, trying to implement that. But at this point, we've not really been able to impose anything in the match to any real effect. So I think it's something I imagine Melissa would be considering at this point.
Look at the varige gestegen sinds haar schulting. Ze giet lee. Je staat get een gelet de giet huurlijn at de shiras aan de mission noster. Gelukkig het de fijn suig de vals maar hier at de fijn suig de val kun goed kuchum ka gedare. Kalak hier de genotion naar bal like galape en at de fijn juk sokker de val. Weer wel een paal tulletje maken en de val. Hansho kan goed maar de deking. Sinsberger, Chinemach, Savokse. Zo'n glassaas glikje heen. En je hoort de weg die aan als je het lee. Hier een maltje pinje geen millen. Ja, Kenyoni. En kallig gelassen te win ik. De puine, agus tilje kun at de show. Hopinger, op de stu. Agus Cara Michelle, le Cascali, the Saval of Lee Gibson. Sarah Puntingham, a skip at Le Shachoramat, and once again. We've said this a number of times, Grant, in the first half, but Lee Gibson comes to Scotland's rescue again.
Yeah, she stood up well to that one. It's, you know, the captain coming in on the far side there. I think she's got a clear sight of goal, and Lee's had to stand her ground. But again, she's done incredibly well, kept the scoreline at 0 again.
Lee Gibson, kun je gekeren, ik wil bal roetigen vlacht. Ik keer je bal aardig uit. Agus schöne de Jano en is. Yes, je heen naar kud je met Aschketal nieuw. En zo is alleen een weer. Is de bal tot je de gemach en je bal op paard gaat Gregory. Zo voor de feen al op je gesmach komen erheen. En je staan heel gauw Leeuwne. Maar voor de station de Hickelsberger fijne vallen Cuthbert. Handshot. Al laat erop zag ik begonnen al trying een tripletje en geschegd zo'n Lee Gibson. So vital now, Grant. Just under what under 7 minutes to half time that Scotland don't concede, get in at half time at the very least with the game level.
Yeah, I think so, and I think you saw Lee there just taking the sting out of the game a little bit, letting that ball run through. It was probably quite an easy one for her just to gather, but I think those are the moments that you need your senior players to step up, manage the momentum in the game, and she's just given everyone a breath there by letting it run out of play. So yeah, she knows the importance of keeping the ball out the net at this point for sure.
Yes, en je ziet de bal passen. Maar Vroonje Caroline Weir ook de maag go Amy Muir was Cuthbert agus Gregory Vasuri dugus a kuchach nish femi Gregory go dash agus shashing le Paul Ishal drapses day Faravach tarsing agus Faralina le Lawton agus an Austria chin go fask sat de hine kisho agus doi khadaken alapa Savalu agus Purcella de Vamle Cheval dash go shashing agus an ocean a Suag Hickelsberger. I'm not sure if Lee Gibson did get a touch on that, Grant, but Hickelsberger with that tidy finish didn't get a touch. The crossbar saved us.
Yeah, it's a lovely little effort, that, isn't it? Difficult one to take, just slightly behind her on the kind of half volley almost, and she just tried to cushion it in. But yeah, we've probably got away with one there. But well done to Emma Lawton for the second phase and get back on the line, just flicking it away.
En dan kon te vallen af haast getaat van een noshing. Nostri die vele, agus hier toe chintarsing of oxe. Sadrazil is het dal agus nagede gede. Raken gevallen af. Kathleen McGovern of Adash Dawn is of oxe geheen. Agus alle roeie groenarte. Jack Shaw line zich. Hakrig ik een Austria is aan de finish sin nach each of the nach Sheehan Cara the shin. It's one of those, Grant, when you dangle an arm out like that. You've seen them give it?
You certainly have. I think she's made every effort to pull her arm away, so I think it'd be very harsh to give that one. But yeah, always one of those that you're a bit nervous about when you see it.
Geen minute nummer 5 Leeuwne. I guess maybe a little Shisu Agonostic, Jenna Clark's Woligny, Lee Gibson, and China the cool look. Shin Kutramach. Muir. Skippelt stevig leeg naar paadje. Weet je, de current was raad dat Amy Rogers en een goede bal go Caroline Weir ku you. Miska hier gedash, geen like een keta. Had ook Freya Gregory. Nischa dashak Rogers like Bristol City. Zo geloos aan een klicht aan een noster. Chimikalora. Hij zat het zuur de pijn show. 3 minutes in de machine die goal. I guess Rogers de shooting nearst de show. Hier agus Hickelsberger in Conley. Jay Suring. De Caroline Weir is er een Cuthbert de Groegig van een gorm shot. Master Kumal Leinart te vermoei boksen. Sinsberger het is Carly guy fatte duel. Weir kaka. Cuthbert, wel gak at Karen Kegela, is toch je gevecht en die wakke keniste. Not sure if that was rehearsed, but didn't really work. Grant.
Certainly looked like it was, just trying to disturb the Austrian back line there, but again, it's probably another one of those chances for Erin that she would want back again because she's got that strike in her, but she just strangled that one a little bit.
Georgieva. So these look at that Gian. Suus gaan er nu. Cuthbert. Go Caroline Weir. Arroyo netje kartu. Gregory Chini de mooi nurigi bouwlijn is dit tra. Had mooi Sinsberger ach roash gore. Is McGovern of a in define state. Agus sinna skilta ní kitavo alape go jach get fine Suus the line flee ach va balder wasked Manuela Sinsberger. Turis a Freya Gregory the earth the suspension spi and a suas duschen in a fark. Iemand eraan geleden kus shedva shine varach. Hietli voorgesche de week noster achinel. She anach de helft in de han haast Savali en Mavali Gibson match tarsing Savali ala pekuchuk. Maar a passion begat het al steed jedig ach wie unje varach gaun as na tikshnek jedig hietli machine. Slugan a minute idaka. I guess the Melissa Andriata be kafakora skip a show in a stay stoch a pick an arch ye me and a pathke Alexander Schriebel either our Irish king a punk Leor Geisenach hat adi yemeter ra the viet hoshach leune I guess Piakiri Janakinach nachakat Karam Sepi I kalapes darnele Tegen de chicken en gaski Duval. Cuthbert, Muringi. Ein treien. Arin Cuthbert de Dies de Valley Duval. Kollig gelegerd leed al in Kekelne duschen. Karst het al in de maag zo ik 4 gelegerd leed Sophie Howard de Val. Zo'n nieuwsie was je niet Duval. Shomara Hachada. New see it. Art state het bar na kosje. I guess he had harsh voor je in a game. Tolka Sophie Howard die game is weer de 5 ja. I guess shouldn't he it late. Het chinka count. I guess be al op het tolletje fijne state. Ik leer je kunt heel gauw in de karm en de schade de wie. I can oster. I guess maar ik raar Lee Gibson het al op Havel le Groen. Havelian Gema Kutremach I guess Hickelsberg en Lishaner we hanik fara vache tarstin shine chana ge leunje maar ik raar al op route kan forsten naar gewitelle stay. I guess that has Quinn show a Camden ik leunje so daar skippen het al so so dan op as de fee disje hier hul as de game se al op Ignoni een oster Ignoni.
Taplatsk dera Alec Kujunan Guntel de show ik paad gehamd in Kleunje. Ze game show on the league national nugus apedus kvelope de Melissa Andriata de Jan of Kleunje cuz all up herste dashjach in the game is Grant Scott in Noas Colin. Grant, thanks again for coming down from the gantry. What have you made of the first half? It's been difficult going at times for the Scotland side.
Yes, I think Austria started very well. They dictated the ball quite well, and it was a struggle for us to get any real quality playing out from the back. The girls in the kind of front areas were finding it difficult to tie it in. But yeah, look, I think it's 0-0, and at that point in the game, you've got 45 to go and try and win it. And I think the manager will be, you know, delighted it's still 0-0. And looking for a little bit more going forward, a little bit more composure. But yeah, I think there's a lot of improvement from that Scottish team that's out there.
And I suppose as well, looking at the positives from a Scottish perspective, it is 0-0, and the longer it stays like that, they'll frustrate this Austrian side as well.
Yes, I think when you're as comfortable as they've been in that first half, they'll be disappointed that they're not in front and almost killed the game off. But the longer they can stay at the scoreline, you're right, it will frustrate them a little bit. But then we need to step it up a little bit too to put them under some stress, which we've not managed to do so far.
They have managed to stress that Scotland defence, and Lee Gibson in particular. Hickelsberger seems to be in amongst all of their attacks as well, and she came close very early on.
Yeah, I think she's been really mobile throughout the half, a real threat. And true striker fashion, got half a glimpse there and tried to find the far post, but she's been very lively, worked really hard so far, really impressed with her.
And it's difficult from a Scottish perspective to keep tabs on all these players because they have so many dangerous options up front. Something that they've probably worked on coming into this game because they know that they need to win this game as much as Scotland do.
Yes, I think so. And when you look at, you know, it's obviously a tough group for both sides, but they managed to score a couple of extra goals than Scotland have, and I think you can see the evidence there that they're very mobile, very experienced side. They've overloaded a few times in the wide areas, and that's helping the strikers to have those chances in the 18-yard area.
They'll owe a big debt of gratitude to Lee Gibson between the sticks for Scotland, who's come up with a number of really high-quality saves.
Yeah, she has. I think that's, Lee's at her best when she's in amongst it like that. I think, those reactions, she's been such a strong goalkeeper over the years, and yeah, you can see why, simply based on tonight. She's been terrific again so far for the first 45.
And is it concerning just how simple it is at times for Austria to be able to put that Scotland back line under pressure and to be creating these opportunities?
Yes, I think so. I think the manager will be a bit concerned about it. We've conceded a lot of territory, a lot of possession to Austria, and certainly, from my perspective, I'd be looking to reverse that if I could. But it's difficult. There's a lot of quality players that are playing at some top sides in Europe, and we need to find a way to get a bit more control of the ball, maybe get up the pitch 20-30 yards and try and nullify the threat from being so deep.
And another threat that came was Shishing. She came close as well, and it just kind of again reinforces the point of they've got so many options going forward, the Austrians.
Yeah, I think having the front two gives them a good dynamic, and you've got Shashling across from the right side of the kind of midfield diamond, getting across the front post, and yeah, she probably should do a little bit better with the finish, but there's a little bit of pressure, I think, from Erin just before she strikes it. But they're certainly very, very mobile in the system that they're playing. And
if Lee Gibson's first save wasn't good enough, the second one is just as good, if not better.
Yeah, I think so. And again, just as we were saying, I think she's been doing this for years. Lee, I've worked with her for a little while at Glasgow City and seen her close up at work, and she does that every day. It's food and drink for her, and yeah, she's just showing her qualities again, just keeping the scoreline at 0.
And she couldn't help with the last effort that the Austrians had, the last notable effort. It came off the bar. Again, the Scotland goal leading a bit of a charmed life through that first 45.
Yeah, it is absolutely. And I think I said in commentary it was a cute little attempt at a finish just to cushion it and try and lift it over the keeper. But yeah, I think certainly a charmed life at the moment. But look, these things happen sometimes, and I did say before the match, sometimes you need patience, and even though you need to win, you've got to soak up these moments and ride your luck at times, and yeah, you just don't know where the first goal's going to come from.
Grant, for now, thank you very much indeed. Stay where you are. A dras tashin gydol Harsŵl is gyda'r ati rosing y bdion dras dy hen Melissa Andriata hiad ty carson hwyr a chech gysio ysgwn skip yn arsen yn a halape o byddech gyda yen of sio ach sio plasit gan niol sy'n chwysing o'r byg yn y betraie.
So Melissa, welcome to Scotland. Just firstly, how happy are you to be here?
Thank you. I've settled in really nicely actually. With the family here, it made it a lot easier. And now that they've gone home, I'm totally laser focused in on camp and preparations for our opening game this Friday.
Was this camp for you a long time coming? You were announced as head coach 2 months ago. How relieved and happy were you just to have the players on the pitch this morning?
You're right, it felt like a long time before camp started, but it came up very quickly in the end. And it's a joy to be here now and get started, because as a coach, at the end of the day, you just want to be with your team, staff and players, and that's where I am now, and I've been enjoying every moment with them in these early days. Things are all about timing and opportunity, and I guess this one came around, and what an opportunity it is to coach a national team with such history in the heartland of European football, and all the things came together at the right time, and I just took the opportunity and I'm grateful for it. When you're an Australian and you're playing football where maybe in Australia it's not the #1 sport, and you're watching all the top leagues and top players on telly at weird hours of the morning, you dream of those things, and I certainly was that kid in the 90s, early 2000s, giving away my age now. But certainly as a coach as well, and I've seen a lot of other Australian coaches go on and do good things in Europe and abroad, and when you're ambitious like I am, it's definitely been something that's been on my radar, and now I'm here, and I'm really looking forward to getting started.
Do you feel you need to give this team and maybe the fans more importantly a lift after, I suppose, a number of years of disappointment?
I share something in common with the fans and everyone, I think, in Scotland, and I think deep down there's a sense of hope that this team can realise its ambition and rise to its potential, and I think that comes down to that word, belief. And I've just tried to remind the group of things that I've seen that they do in club and in country that gives them the right to believe in themselves more and as a team. And if we can focus on those areas and our strengths and do that more often at a higher level, I think anything's possible with this group, and we're going to have the time to do it, and that's what we've been focusing on. Well, there's obviously the long-term objective, and that's getting back to the world stage and competing at major tournaments, but also the short-term project of getting results and performing well in this window. And I think in that instance, it's all about performing at the highest level under the highest pressure. And when you have players across the world playing in top leagues, even domestically in cup finals or right down to the wire in the league where it's decided in the last few games of the season, it's players who can stand up and rise up under those pressureful moments. And I've seen players do that, and it's those players that have stood out in those moments that I think have earned their opportunity for this window.
I want to ask you about Rachel Corsie, the Scotland captain, of course retiring from football altogether after this camp. A big loss for your group, but of course you'll now, I suppose, be looking ahead to see who can take on that responsibility of captain.
Rachel, what a footballer, someone who's contributed so much, not just to the national team, but to football in this country. And I think, you know, her leadership will be missed, but what we've seen through her misfortune with a long injury is the opportunity for other players to step in and start seeing themselves as a leader in the national team. They're leaders in their own clubs, in their own right as well. And I think perhaps that transition has already been evolved naturally long before I arrived, and now it's about how that looks after this window. But right now we're just focusing on what's in front of us, and Rachel's with us, and we're very happy about that.
And is it fitting for you to have your first match under the lights at Hampden?
I think so, and I think also for the players, more importantly, some of them have had very long seasons and have finished that with club and are coming home in a way and get to play in front of their friends and family as well as the fans, and I think that's special for them. And we need everyone in the stands, fill the stands and get behind this team, because they're worthy of it. They love playing in front of you, they love pulling on the national team jersey, and you know that can be the edge in this game, that extra support when we especially need it. And then for me personally, it's an honour. It's an honour to work with this group, and I'm excited for it.
Skipper Nash and the Nahalapish and Grant Scott Colum Hast. Grant, just touching on what Melissa was talking about there, she seems to be saying all the right things, you know, only 7 weeks into this new job, and seems to be really relishing this challenge ahead.
Yes, look, I think she's got a challenge on her hands. I think the group is naturally transitioning, evolving with players stepping away. We're losing a bit of experience, but there's some good talents coming through, and look, we might all need to be a little bit patient, but certainly I like a lot of the language and the terminology she uses, and the structure and energy and kind of hunger. These kind of words that are important for me, for a Scottish national team. I think they're important in any team sport, but yeah, I think we just need to be. Look, it's a new point for us all, and I think we just need to get behind the team, get behind the manager, and let's see where it goes.
From one head coach that many over on the other side will hope will have many successes in the years to come, to one who's already had success in yourself, it would be remiss of us not to have a look back at your own season. I mean, many congratulations. Have you come back down from cloud nine yet?
Yeah, it's a strange one, because it's over in a flash, and the person I am, I suppose it's quite difficult to sit back and you know, bask in it too much. I think practical head comes on almost the
Surely
next
you
day.
can enjoy it for a wee while.
Yeah, look, I'm very proud and what we've achieved. I think it's a magnificent achievement from the playing squad, the staff, and everyone involved.
I mean, looking back at some of the highlights, or one particular highlight from the season, I mean, what's going through your head at this point? You know, on the last day of the season when it's going down to the wire.
Yeah, I think it's you're trying so much to keep all your emotions in check for the benefit of the group, and you got 20 players in there and a bunch of staff to try and make sure everyone's on the same page. But probably the goal we're watching back there was the moment that I actually thought we were going to do it for the first time in the whole season. I felt we were excellent on the day, very disciplined, and yeah, it was magnificent to see it out.
Was there any particular point in the season where you thought we could genuinely do this?
Probably not for me. I think I'm just a bit more practical and think about the next game, and we genuinely in-house just did do that. It's a bit boring, but it's a real thing. We try to keep ourselves grounded, and as I say, probably the first moment that I thought, yeah, we're going to do this is when that goal went in.
Did you wonder why Lindsay Taylor was so far up the pitch at that point?
Yeah, a tiny bit. I watched it evolve from the sideline and thought, okay, Lindsay, that's enough. That's not about, I think she's a player that knows the game really well. She sees the pictures, and I'm just delighted she saw that and continued her run.
Well, Grant, thank you very much indeed for coming
you.
back down to speak to us. We'll let you go back up to commentary. Agus na skipi yn y tyn ymach yn nesio sy'n y darn yn eisio oed Bad Gahamden. Ti cars na hwyrach môr gadi the Melissa Andriata agus y skip eich eisiau. Ys y hiad game eich ystywdd. Hitching it ar sŵas chan ysbydish fyr y fel Alico Henley y ffyr.
Morn tan gali, agus as yn y sŵlach i garach ag tosiach y darn y le ys yn alapa. Agus ys yn gerafig iddo sy'n y garstad. Fes yn ysmynach y gyffeim y garach y hyn agus Melissa Andriata tŵmdach yn y niolys ag Rachel Corsi a chyn fan y bengi am ysmynyn se Jenna Clark hat al yen a hat mar sin hig Corsi ystay fian aloin y gian agus geolus eich gysio y chien fan y bengi. Agus bycan cor ag edrych i hyn as Sophie Howard Gish yn cyfi cwych yn o'i chael agus har Rachel Corsi dylag ein le cyw a Camden. Mae'r ffars gyda toddi slán eich agus symudach capitol ingenach iddo fi eich ys y driach y galap y cynnych y nid ysarge y torch alap y cwcben y crynia as y rhain gyda da fila sy'n nwy gia gach stoch y gyfer stoch y capitol eich iddo sgrig hast as y gemse agus chortag sy'n di y gymor na rach eich gyda jiffer y iano. Gydach mae'r rein i siop ag yn blian yn cynnydd asht y fynnach fygedig yn nwy na hwngar. Game gyma cwtr mach an y fynig agus a triplet y sio ag imi miwr tras y darn y le iddo gol golar a sio eich bwylain sio mar achad a sŵlan iddo faw i hyn ys Heckelsberg Urchin Conlag agus miwr y ffadach gyn y fwylio y sy'n Pa'n pic an cwyd ach geiri ddas iddo glwn yn ysg Melissa Andriata iddo Tarach and Grant Scott back with me. Grant, it's a change we maybe foresaw. Rachel Corsi coming in at half time, and Melissa Andriata turning to the experience of Corsi in the second half.
Yes, I think she'll have noticed that the composure wasn't quite there in the first half, and one thing I've seen Rachel do and pitched a team against her and down in England when I was there, and she just exudes composure and that little bit of class on the ball, and yeah, I think if we can get the ball down and play a little bit more this half, she'll certainly influence this game.
And she has that extra motivation knowing this will be her final appearance at Hampden.
Yeah, look, I don't think someone like Rachel probably needs the extra bit, but yeah, I agree. I think it's the stage is set for her to come in and dictate the game, and yeah, hopefully she does that.
Of course, well, like Kafa got a game ein das getol drast ha imi muur haast de fijn code in het duval. I guess CG Boulein minuten. I guess le Boulein machine femen te vikinjach gewille karskelore son kumalors. I guess say Jenu Slee en is got two wel in de paadke. Alexander Schriebel goedje like an oster. Nu wil ik begissen en niet waar hier is gescheerd le a gewain na gelat de to line visiten fallach in Euro atadig. Iad Hashach agus hiú sin tuch pican te gach atá sin san Newton a cé miúr mar ha an il sríbal tálaigte go bhfuil stat chofata de gola de game hiú mar a tuch sulgu a chimat in yamadach go agus a bí. Corsi could the game with Ash Gatolas on Alapa. Here is Sophie Howard Ellis Gilior and Ishjamian Elena Gian. Ashko Lee Gibson. Davidson, Gagronke, and it's Sue McGiddig, Chin for Hanshaw, Satig a Sheikh of his own to Galapa. We are a Chin Gadic. Lawton. Te spik en oorlijk zoals alleen. Maar kafak is een game met Galapa gaan het dus. Als je gedaan today, you can just see a noticeable increase in the intensity from Scotland in the opening minutes of the second half. Grant.
Yes, Alec, I think that's one of the things we spoke about first half, that for me, I think the manager would be looking for that. She's spoken about that pre-match in her first couple of interviews and since taking the job, and we didn't quite implement that in the first half, but you're right, you can just see a little increase in the tempo, work rate looks better and just more purposeful already.
Govern Kahumala States, Kahundag, Suisalenico, Fria Gregory, Hapurini Humala Shekhi, Melissa Andriata, Edo the Voxy Technica, Mission and Klukita and Himarha. Kind of son of Fricker Josh and Tras the Darnley. Cuthbert, Dashko, Corsi. The Mura Dashe, Dagus Gibson is a Shinnahumal Strach. I think could do that. So, we get a paper macha by on the horizon and Jensigal. I got skid the Shachat by the Boshine. Helikala Mach go Amy Muir. Rogers. He is Shanna Sharval up at the fine jug. Pick and the Varach Gunya the vow. Sinsberger. Ze boek zich heen. Ja, gaan die Tasha gewonnen goed Luadele. Gaan een Oster. Pep Nasatje. Howard. Koenig ook Sophie Howard. Kars Woeje. De geert leef hem hier de vierde vijfje. Shassing. Ik er al 4 uur gorm. Ze geert leek goedje. Corsi. Ze mag van een goed. Gaal keta. Dus. Ik mag machine 25 kilometer geloof vaak al daar is cool vastgeltje. Porcella, agus Howard kapoor gelegd. Cinema, staat hier te, agus een morsen in cinema gelish. Skachud zoals alleen. Misschien Anna mag horen. Niet als mijn vaak gereedje de shin. Al op Kumalora. Gregory, agus gaat de vinnetje in Uzi. En bouwen de plistig. Idash go Kirschberger uit je goed. Is aan ons dat vegende wie first nog van een goal. Berger. Agus. En zo. Ik had zin zeggen dat hij ze mag. Ik ken een share van Caroline Weir. Biek Davidson. Laat gaan een goedje te dat Real Madrid. Na share wel op, dus misschien gaan ze vastgegaan genoemd Davidson een childe gesterke triplets Porcella ka wordt woepen. Bij Paul Peer woepen al op de Vinicius Cuthbert. Davidson de vermoeie, is een schöne bouw. Davidson kan gewoon peil keta, agus gaine dash. Go Caroline Weir is gepuringi. Je gaan bijna vallen. Felt maybe that was the wrong pass into Lauren Davidson, but she almost makes something of it here.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a mistake from the defender there, and Lauren's done well just to be persistent and make the best of probably a slightly misplaced pass.
Siar bhil up at Dún an a grúnart gefuút an Oster Bristúr, Rogers, Bia Caroline Weir, Mach go Freya Gregory, McGovern, McCunniff, Amy Muir, Dolce of Moon Gregory, Gewoonige go Ashte go Rogers, Fosklige Mach, Yijach Droch Fas, Va Muir de Vermoeie, Nish, a clicket an an Oster, Masurga Bristúr, Muringa a pass sign, Chechat at Corsi. Nish, Nashia. Caroline Weir, feinkin barach yn y fawl, sy'n feinkin barach yn y sgil yn eich sadio sy'n. McGovern yn y gol ystyrach a dan yn gybawl tarsing. But already, Grant was seeing more of Caroline Weir on the ball, and I think that's because maybe Austria have stepped back a bit and Scotland are enjoying just that bit more time on the ball.
Yes, it's sometimes difficult to see if they've stepped off it a little bit, or if Scotland have just had enough information at half-time. Just to step, it looks like we're 20 to 30 yards further up the pitch, and that just allows you to put extra pressure on, and yeah, all good teams don't like that. You know, if we can get close enough to them, we can force mistakes, we can win second balls, and all the scraps are falling our way just now. So, yeah, long may it continue.
We're doing to them in the second half what they did to us in the first. She'll cut him, stocha. Yes, Caroline Weir va fiechan de try and pass for McGovern. Nacha impi inishte the line of Gianna and Oster is on a here to this again. Sophie Howard is take a watch it. Davidson. Gregory. I guess tarring the Lena look at that and Oster. I guess Sue Vrip of his own. Ein Shachat Gejeke with Weinreuther, ach Noorsen Taring with Ashera. Allard Viescha Corsi Gidi Binnikshin Senior Gregory Chundag Al Eloinach Satigestjach and an Oster of his own kata. Da goed je maar hier moet je dat in de boxing techniek gachke. Zo wil je. Schachat je goed in je triangle Lee Gibson. Howard Stu die is sneavis liamach van een goed bij laten. Bal naar Scher zo is de lijn. McGovern zich kasten falla boepen naar de wij via de bouwlijn van Smach. Sa vastklige maken is bij prachtig zo is de shock het daar huilen toe. Nu Porchella Galavira. She doesn't agree with that, Grant, but I think we could see from up here that she just went a bit too early.
Just a tiny bit too keen. It does look a close one on first glance, but yeah, she's very tight there, but half a step perhaps.
Gibson, goed is de game met Ash Gato. Bal duidelijk als je een mag go even meer unsuur als dan ook just een jaar als motion goed dat Ash go Rachel Corsi. Shock kon dat achter galappen. Nog goed te vikaal. Chance zich in Gato en Chance ook ze zei Corsi het fijn aselijk die is. Gibson en motion gaskel mag verder parach room met Gemma Lawton. You shouldn't pass it there. Give Caramel a pass Goodich go Caroline Weir. Rogers go Iritra. Ach Lawton Dodash go Howard. Dodash gaan een nieuw zien. Weg je should pick and finish in de dash. Femi via de fangel. Zie het Kars Weir. Leemes jacht de nieuw zien. Govern. Eerst via die kutsumige de Kirchberger. Lawton, I guess, glach of a cool on the V, Clukie Williamach, Yaki de Jesus Elena. Hancho. Ydych chi cael mewn a Lawton. Wytig a fydd cyrn y ffyn ys fi yn Cuthbert y sy'n eis y gra a chaclwyd y galap e lar. Rodgers fain pwyle y drabat. Chi'n dechela. Agus Pintigam skipad ac yn ostadioch le lafas wling stoch ymach glachgwch Rodgers ma grwy sy'n gors agus sy'n sgylchol ei hast iddo lar. Pintingham had an elbow out there which may have caught Amy Rodgers on the cheek, and if that's the case, that's a sore one.
Yeah, it looks a sore one. I think it's one of those ones that's pretty much accidental, and she's just trying to muscle her way in between the two players and get in front of Amy Rodgers there. But yeah, sometimes these things happen. I don't think there's any intent, but yeah, sore for Amy regardless.
And ironically, Scotland probably don't want this at this moment because they've got the intensity. They're looking to take the game to Austria, and it's probably a better break just now for Austria. They can regroup a bit.
Yeah, this is one of these momentum moments again where we could just do without the pace of the game getting killed at this point. I think first 10 minutes, you know, we're on the front foot, we're further up the pitch, the energy looks better. But you know, there's no excuse that it shouldn't be able to restart when the game restarts. But yeah, it just offers Austria a little chance to regroup at this point.
That's Andriata stochas minnig y ffemi arach ili, you know, ha Rodgers has the lar. And Ross at Bingi Connell the Ishin Kuchach Gagas kind of Kolach Gafema arach you know. Salju Villa Shina ha Rodgers Sidayan. Has tai fine code. Agus sin nish iddo nua the ruin. Game of the a start grush a giri dash go Casson. Agus she Emma Watson like Manchester United haka gyda me dash. Look at the third the gele lua komen ze getuurlijn. Maar sin she look at that gema at the gallichtje at all in it. Rodgers was league. Yeah, it looks like Amy Rodgers' night is over, Grant, but it's a very different player that's coming on if it's Emma Watson that's been thrown into the fray.
Yes, I can't quite see who's getting prepared there, but it's, as you say, a very, very much a different player. It's not.
Oh, Karamis! Oh, free kick. Sorry, Grant.
No, it's not a player that over the last few games that we've seen in that kind of position, but it might be a case that Caroline drops back a bit and Emma plays a bit more advanced. But yeah, we'll wait and see.
That's got a 12 sin va Sinsberger gyma John a chwgal golar ar o pwchtig sy bi ar y diolch corsi fa syrfad ar y haid y gogan y gain. Not beth ffedd eisiau narach yw asyn i Iano. Moster fiachan di bra gael ydw diolch yw mastwrin gaif. Bawl o brystiwch gysio. Hancho, stagan y fiain, Gysad Razil. Sophie Howard. Ein y falaf. The fine chorm y darach yw iawn o noster y cwmal y iem at all. As chan y darach yw chien. Puchella, agus y ddys Sophie Howard is a nach y charst. A chaig pris de Tsjechat bydd bosau. Agus yn ish fel bydd y tarach ag asyn i Iano. Emma Watson y chien ed. Yn yf cep gia gaich gysio. Tri tyr leich gyda gael abyd mar sy'n haich. Edd y falach gyn sy'n ein mar ha fe cwyd y fwyl gan y lian gan y skip yn asyn deich a dras fe miad o chwmal y mach agos hastau hwn efo posiain a noster edrych goled hosioch chwychyd yn y crog mynd y ffostau Alexander Schriebel edrych goi edrych fawl agos y noster a bwrynt y Lee Gibson dati yn y mayon sy'n ach hwn efo posiain agos diolch y fyddysig efo sy'n a fi garach y clwychyd at Isyn co hwyd y sŵag ed agus y ddys ac i ffostau Hickelsberger fa ffain y sŵag ydw sy'n I think it's Hickelsberger again who gets the touch of the front post. She's been such a menace all night, Grant, and typically when you stop the game, maybe concentration is not at its highest, you get punished.
Yeah, I think it's a poor goal for us to lose. I think that, you practice these things a lot. They'll have seen deliveries like that in footage and planned for such things. So that's quite disappointing. But you're right, the stoppage I think doesn't help, and you got Emma coming onto the pitch there and doing a brand new job and for the first time, and it's all just a bit certain for everyone. But yeah, very disappointing.
Hickelsberger Lisha Shia to Leichische gan an Oster agus well ha Gio Gallop the Genoinish fine at Ashgan again so agus fine da Howlett Hoshach show Cuthbert in the Shinian you met the Vurish Lisataga Stech Duval I guess like fear Gracham in a game Kuchach Chechastu you know it ach an ruguteraan a gro Noster Adi the Schindlish and a Vachki in a game Kahara Securely G. Frickercha Galapa, Gregory. Which in Tarsaganistach, Gidach Kazadrazil, Saishaka, Oprich Falap, Corsi, Idashastek, or Cassin Caroline Weir, had famous Rutikin Mervillach when a skip out Weir and Ish, Gregory, Doch and Elena, the Ish, Gain Tarsing. Govern Fiach and the Rutikin Aina, Gamachazon, the Poshak. Nurin to Galapa, Ruterin Nostri, and a Kichel Nilla. Minutes number machine at Ashig and I count it in the path get. And Davidson had a goal no legal shot. Archer could yell out of the vowel the hattle Gidach go Manuela Sinsberger a Kahukalas in yet. It's worth mentioning as well, Grant, that she's had quite a week winning the Champions League for Arsenal, so good week for her.
Yeah, and it's just the back line and Zinsberger and goals. There's a lot of experience in there, and you've got players playing at the highest level and winning the Champions League. You can't get any higher than that in Europe. So, yeah, they're bound to be full of confidence. They're keeping another clean sheet at this moment in time, and yeah, the composure they've shown probably exudes from the back and a player like Zinsberger.
Zinsberger hier Vornach has an Oster had a Champions League geleden. Ach, really goed te magische. I guess the Valkosha as a duiction. And shot at the Fiachan Distoch. There's a Darata line of Camden Porchella at Altroya. I guess what's in a van Chile Gadash. Janakina Hang in a Pachach. The is chatted. We bosh in your Chechat. I guess Femi at the Vikimanas Furchella. The drips in a vat. The drip Mayedik. I guess he Ushin. Goragator. Corsi. I guess Gibson. Giri Ver Nashinaka. Foster Yugunik. Je geen Oosterlische Nurti en die is show na het alleen Jirak Chimichal in de boxe Shashing. Lisje de Porsche en gedrupse had al Gidach. Gully Gibson sa kafa kora show einke Kel Miller de park ja Giri Dwa was het. Caroline Weir geitje nu G fijn gaan vuilig shell geloer. Sa handshot Chile gedash te find het hasje gora. Shingadish be Xadrazil. Just an illustration there, Grant, of the athleticism as well in this Austrian team. They really are good level of fitness.
Yes, I've been very impressed with them. I thought first half when they were dictating a lot of the match, that we can look at the pressure that maybe Scotland didn't get on them, but I think there's a real just an air of confidence, a real air of strength and experience, and the mature athleticism that they have. It's they look a real difficult opponent to play against.
Knioshin at het Carl Kate Cahoon, dus je get a match 3 Cahoon. Ja, maar nu na lunch. Davidson. Watching a match, also notion hij de klach. Marina Georgieva is hoe dat ik bij Karsvuye in de magasho ha Karsvuye son Georgieva Davidson het fijne falla voip naar de gai het lekale show je maar fijn falla voip genomen en ik stay nog leeg wees dat je kleva Jeva Giannis hier onder de Jesus live karo is het Jeva toch heen Nish, Nurin te galapa, Bragale, Diaki, Caroline Weir, Edeval. Shwiek, Georgieva, Jidach Marahak, Sophie Howard, a Kelner and a Pathkit. Weir. I guess gosh, I follow Avation, no, Chataga and Pick and Corley, but Mitchell Corsi had a goal no look with Cocker na Cluish. Straight to the ancient Garamalapa, cool Voxvik. Javier Charawash, Sinsberger. Yes, no opportunity Dave Cuthbert Haas, Tapel, Savokse, Murigavine Falakatas, Akilior, the ancient, I can oster, son about. Eine Falak Savalchuk, Kafak and Ishidalapa, Game Ankatol, Nagas Marha, Kolas at Kuchuklikita and Kalat, Rutikinski, Jidik, Seisanata. Orton, she was going to govern, I guess I get the Boshanine. Bow Steven Ashar drops of a weir Nevada up Magidik. Orton for the Huas. Andy McGovern, Watson, Howard, Atula, Feo, Paul Nashar, Caskli, Caroline Weir, Van Nosha. He is Chak down, Marcana Foster, Pishiaka Cuthbert, I guess the Isha, Gilior, Asarat, like Anosta. That's a couple of times the delivery from set pieces just hasn't been good enough, has been too near the front post.
Yeah, I think someone of Caroline's quality, you know, there's no players across the front area there, so I'm assuming that the signal for that set play was something different. But look, I think, yeah, we need to do a little bit better in those moments.
Thomas Harman of the Ounce, famous to Prague, see you in you. Lawton. Yesha Kafak the Val Tarsing Acha McGovern ka Aini Daraka Jachjidach Golawan Sinsberger. Yet Haliga in McGovern Idaini Daraka for Georgieva Kayana Tulikita. Howard Sanik Shinfar Kulaki. Archinella, Dolhin to Galapa, Rosity do Hals a Famora, Tola Diediganish. As I can need the shot, she and Ostera Kavi, clear as a dressage. Watson, Dashko, Corsi. Lawton. Weer Gwish. Juna Madrups, a fine follow of Gish. Genoorsen een bal terug. Met Golko Muur. Maatjes in Chipal, Karaniter en Leon van iedereen is Freya Gregory, Nishai Gregory. Die is de pas voor je. Wat het horsig in McGovern. Parach boom ik kan osteren is. Paul Hortemach, Alappe, vaak al pernen en goelig. Voor een handshot, vjegen die Praag aan de shin. Kan je dash voor Porcella, handshot, Paul Lee, Shalastay. Watson of Adash. Ach, Pristia, die is game of Gibson. Saval again de shin. I guess who Adela, Coele, Hickelsberger around. Kind of Shadara sees this late, Lee Gibson, but gets a good hand in it.
Yeah, it's a great little snapshot from Hickelsberger there, and Lee's done well just to see it and react as quickly as she did.
Click it on a Oster kill a game of court to do this. The mooie good data line, I guess. Trina K the Havely and Minervillach the Gibson. Good that she drops it, when a noshine. Hopinger, stay, I guess, Sue, Porcella, Gachudamach, the Vowels, Vision Corum, the Galapa, na hára chéan a sinna dhéanú é dúbhá. Ní Macaulay dul in iad, Martha Thomas cúte dul in iad, chuite an uirdach ile. Agus McGovern dul gé, chiad gé meichise a dúirí dul a bheith siúdig. Agus Lauren Davidson chuite a dul gé is on Mia Macaulay. And you can understand those changes. Melissa Andreatta really has to go for it now.
Yes, I think so. Fresh energy in the front end of the pitch is always good to have available, and I think you'll see that. Martha's going to, hopefully she'll be able to tie it in again, as long as we can get the service. But obviously exciting talent. It's great to see Mia Macaulay step up to the squad now, and you know, she's done everything she can at age group. She's cemented her place in the Rangers first team. And very difficult opponent to play against, but yeah, really exciting player for us to bring on at this stage.
Eiche bhór de Mia Macaulay, chiad cheich beiche de galapa agus clúiche seo deachas a chai an a gúrsgear nach cúpa na halapa with the tail the Rangers. Set binne de cúpa na Glasgow City. Corsi. Ach go Amy Muir. Cuthbert gach crychu mi yn y path gynnes. Lawton iddi gol ystau pic yn achfa. Coediwch iddi sal yn pic yn y sy'n fa. Lawton y fiach yn dych y troia. Dyda nhw raf y dyrysat. Steg yn y 50 minut mae gyddig yn y gêm. Agus alapa. Cynioni idd gyddig. Hwyl o fysyn sydd ar y llef o Julia Hickelsberger. Jiffer. Caroline Weir. Dus 4 te Amy Muir en Suus. Ga hillig alle støyach die is tja. Ik het aan Gillior Kirchberger is in zijn einde vallag en dan Osters en is tja teen op dit stu. Suus alive glee. Porcella ach Kolaski de Muir bewaschen kutjach. Paul de Dashach geta. Corsi. Kartjema Gaborko Leers Lee. Howard. Mia Macaulay ga hier I tra de duise. Agus Nishkain voor Lawton. Beckham room shock Mia Macaulay. Rui UCLA na Gian. Jesuring Iano. And the raise the handshaw. Agus Gagara Gadash. Agus the fellow was on Saturdays Jeff, but that's an indication of what Mia Macaulay can do. She has the pace to trouble defenders.
Yeah, she's ridiculously fast, and you know, for her first touch in the game, I'm delighted to see that she's just shown the confidence to take on a really experienced player and you know, get something from that and high up the pitch. And yeah, it's just that's what we need in the team to get us back into the game if possible.
Kiet bach ganyen kecht megede gebesek Mia Macaulay en check my yoon shin. Stoch ger shin rut gila pagakas Melissa Andreatta me vidi Gilliorgen en kliket aan oka shin is jachs ma dis hat fach beshach. Word stick a watch of the eerste Porcella. Kolaski Joris maar Migra. Strategie vis moet je niet aardig in de Jano. Rowan en Gilliorach gehuwd klikt aan uit. Nicole Billa, Eileen Campbell had chili gedasjes toe wie mag hoe je woord zie de kostige met kroeg gaan. Wil het ook fijn gisje paars gaan gamese. Corsi, is kiri doen was de Amy Muir. Ik kom wel eens tijd bij Gregory. Is Gira Kusunya the Vowels, good shot, Gila Gadapa to the Nojish. Howard, Achan Nurinji, hoping Gerachumal Buipe, Jike Brachtach Suas, Shirley Gibson, the Mach, Brachtach Fudachias, Hadashka Zadrazil, Agus, the Mach of the Ish. I think we were waiting maybe for a flag to go up there, but thankfully Lee Gibson didn't wait, and it's another great save from her.
Yeah, I must admit, from our vantage point, I thought she might have been offside, but it looks like it's been perfectly timed and nice way to pass through. You know, a tight short pass like that, it's difficult to execute, but thankfully Lee stayed switched on again and yeah, kept another opportunity out.
Hickelsberger, agus eisiau dda fi chocwnatach gan y noster, agus tylio cwnat y shot y galap fwy'n y dde bosiang. Gibson, da lai fe falaf. Macaulay, gain y sacha falaf a chwnat. Wir, chwyd ysteg yn y fiain, agus jach yn mwrwg efo chwmal a lapa. Trapsa brachtig het al soes en Lily Porcella. Zie je nog op de groeien hier. Al op de berg karig jullie en we de vouw. Je mag gaan doen je show in de magoers. Pikken een stich minnetje. Idaka. Maar goed is dat maar zo. Bij al op de toekomstige go League B de League National. Wie er is jacht het garm. Misschien een kanoster. De game met Akal. Slugen naar Hachres voetigen. Als een noenje uit Akal. Corsi. Watson. Geri doen was het. Helen weer was hoe ze lopen naar Keniede ze gaan game. Maar ga je toen maar bouw de winnen kan Martha Thomas hoe ze schön komen die. 20-jarige Dashach kost de leentje Gerard Kachimichalara. Is Porcella Tolice staat er gesteld in Vermeer. Kafak Spien is het Weinreuther. Geen mijne Dashketol en is met Joen. Jach feint van het 10 minuten jammer zijn uit agus spionoster Kenia has a dressaatje. Die is Scheller tjoen de geval af, ze fijn je goggen in die vouw. Er is me ik even muur het moeren met jou. Ik vreeg Gregory aan Kamelischka lachen. Hij is zuur verdiept. Hoort Shechat. Scheller schoen de gevallen van Gregory. Toen was aan bij Kainte de Hanach. Hij de kogen gaan. Ik is chauffeur willen oster. Kunatach. Maar de Gunnischen van de Boscheng. Dus je hier het heel. Het is een nieuwe route en we hoe je in de duivel. De jarige Dash Hopinger. Agus die is Gibson. Agus de wraakje gevallen af. Agus I think we're running out of superlatives for Lee Gibson, but Hopinger left unmarked on the edge of the area, and again it's a smart save from Lee Gibson.
Yeah, a nice, clever one from the Austrians there. Clearly worked on that, and I think she's might have been Sophie actually that got the initial contact, but yeah, it was. Yeah. But Lee was there as well. She's just been just as sharp to react to anything that's been out there tonight.
Kirsty Hewitt, dolle hineed. Zo'n een minuutje na de haken. De Rangers vrij Gregory. Je gaat daar kijk bij Hewitt. Nou, liep naar de heel. Je de gek te gaan en de goers hier nog goed bij half op de kutje. Ja, Macaulay. Ga goed geduurd. Go Hewitt. Lawton, which a ball was the Colach Jew Karamasho. I guess Hewitt bring you so again at this hookshell Lawan Sinsberger. Thomas with the initial header, then it breaks for Hewitt and Sinsberger. Fortunate that just falls to her, she just falls on top of the ball. Maybe just too early for Kirsty Hewitt having just come off the bench.
Oh, I think the little touch there from Weirwriter is just deceived her a little bit. It's just taking it right onto her foot rather than her just walking onto the ball that was knocked down by Martha there.
Ja, maar de passion, maar de passion, we hebben verloren Weinreuther. Kirsty hebben to the hier tuurlijk eind te galap agus well, gee, Jeffrey goed, ik shouldn't be the Janule 8 minutes in the go. Had that gone in, Grant, plenty time left at least to try and go and for a win here, a first win in the group.
Yeah, that would have been the kind of opportunity, the grandstand finish, just throw everything at it after that. But yeah, Kirsty's made a great impact there with the first touch just round the corner into the wide area, followed in, and like a good striker like she is, she's sniffing about for scraps. But yeah, just that little touch is taking it out of her path.
She's gefasst al op de hier in de tuurlijn nog. Gaan hele. Ja, Emma Watson sin agus bheith forsta nach purinte Georgieva Bragala dat je first goed. Alexander Schriebel fasge de Taraka Jackis in the ruin. It's been a good start for him, Grant. He's won the first game, that first one against Scotland. Looks like they're going to finish third and in a group. Germany and Holland. That's pretty good from an Austrian point of view.
Yeah, I think on the surface you think the size of their nation, you're not sure how they're going to compete, but they've done very, very well. I'm actually quite impressed with them tonight. I think you know, there's a real athleticism, a real calmness about them. They've got a real good structure about them, and I think you're just seeing the difference between, you know, the stage that they're at as a group and where we are. You know, they look very secure, very mature in their game, and I think you can see that, you know, we're just finding our way at the moment.
Quite cool to be a lot, but Chidach Maravad may either in the league gave at Chidach Kuska scheme out to go dash go League B is on Tasha. Possibly not the worst thing from a Scotland point of view, and Melissa Andreatta looking to build a new side. Might be easier to do that from a League B position.
Yes, I think so. It's probably an unpopular thing to say, but I think a new manager coming in obviously needs that bit of time to get their own ideas, their own strategy, their own vision for how the Scotland team looks going forward. And I think she's been bold tonight with some of the players that started the game, and you know, she's made changes, good changes at the right moment. And yeah, look, I think as much as we've got Lee to thank for staying in the game for as long as we have, particularly this second half, there's been some real good signs. But I think to implement any other changes and get her vision of how things should be, potentially, you know, could we say respectfully against, you know, some slightly lesser opposition, it's probably plays into her hands a little bit.
Ian Macaulay, Jenna Marshall, Martha Thomas, agus Skyne is there and you're shin. I guess the ball of the follow Gasavalchuk, agus certainly Martha Thomas has made a difference since coming off the bench. She's just given a bit more impetus to that forward line.
Yeah, she's worked the areas really well. I think just that final bit where she's kind of lashed at the final opportunity there, she maybe could just have been a bit more calm. But yeah, she's added a different dynamic, that's for sure.
Watson, by coin the son, but the Bosha and Yakatudia, so Megiddy Chin, Boy Pahin, Achanadoi, and you're like more than fame in that game, Havo Shechat of Vitosh, Cluch Fame to be when she at each of the Cluchimerson, and on the Cluchiana. Pochers en pikken draast de eerst. Aardig. Het al in van de pinken gaan nosten. Nee, prima in Eileen Campbell naar straaien. Prachtige voetdag hier is de draast. Dikke shot. Koen had de shot. I guess. This. De prep finish is de shot. En je hebt maken we aan Hickelsberger en Nuringie Gretchen. Bij Smoenian Carolee Gibson in de leek kind of prep finish. En je le goedje tollish in moe. Hickelsberger is incredulous here, Grant. She thought she had a penalty there.
Yeah, I'm interested to see this one back because it's difficult. Any amount of contact, running at that kind of angle, catching that ball, yeah, it's difficult to see. You can understand why she's claiming it, but yeah, maybe a bit more embarrassment than actual contact. Yeah, there's not much in that at all. I don't know that that's a penalty.
I think it's more the embarrassment of missing the chance, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think she's, yeah, maybe that touch round Lee's just gone a little bit ahead of her, and yeah, probably should have done better in that moment.
Gaan je laten dolgaan de finish a chas sé dul like Hickelsberger a jiffer either da skippe. Aardige dol heen e duval. Eileen Campbell dol heen. Hickelsberger who the dul till yet. Question, Grant, would be, how does a player called Eileen Campbell play for Austria, not for Scotland?
I did look at that earlier. I thought it was really strange, but yeah, interesting one, isn't it?
Wel, hij took a las an Oster. Is met een McGrath, hij wie mag hoe je voor, zie de korstig hele triplers met kroegen. De Loon gaat een middag helpen, stoch een punt gaan, het is zo ver een beetje tarsing. Kirsty Howard voor Aster. It's as close as Scotland have come. A really good effort from distance from Kirsty Howard.
Yeah, she's so capable of that, and she scored a few terrific goals this season from these kind of distances. And yeah, Kirsty's a natural scorer, and I'm just delighted to see us getting a shot off. Finally, I think it's okay to take the shots when you get the chance like that.
Boshing Chinas Shachate Hulatinya Hanur, Chinas this, click at the line of Watson Ka Hiligadash. Scotland have played well these last few minutes, but it's probably just too little, too late.
Unfortunately, that's going to be the story. But I think you know, at the moment we are as a national team, new manager in post. I think we've got to be really positive about the second half in particular, and the reaction to losing a goal. You know, no one's reacted any differently. We've gone and tried to make an impact. The substitutes have been incredible. They all made impacts, and yeah, look, we're very unlucky in this one not to get something out of the game.
And with a few minutes extra time to go, Grant, who's your player of the game tonight?
I think we've got to look at Lee's performance. I think she has done absolutely everything possible to keep the ball out the net. You know, the set play is a difficult one, but it's a busy area for her. I don't think there's an awful lot she can do with it. But for keeping us in the game so long, I think it's got to go to Lee Gibson.
Chicken geleden al op de game de Groen Havely en Matt Hickelsberger de wie Matt Kutcher gaan Noster. Lee Gibson saar goed at the game. De Cherry de noen warrig we zijn een kjittige game. Noster puchtige zonne daar het heel goed Shale in the game van Jelly Achkesen. Hobinger. Like Liverpool has the Dolomie in a pathke. Koik minuten te goede warrig gewiaking. Het is een bekende wisje aan de luchttuigje duval. De dag is kuju in het hul. Hij in de dash. Puntigam skip out. Hij is de eerste gepast. Boekseller. Valtjiedig traaien kan trippelen. Lee Gibson. Look at a fast ski in ish. Merach kan het in stay. Schriebel. Kiel in Ashke. With a game of Vinnik. Daar a game is a voyant shot. Lawton. Animals the game and Nuringi fine can line a Gairi dash Nuringi bowline tarsing Emma Lawton Kayara Dashach Gidach go Cass Sinsberger Martha Thomas of a fair the fine does well to go to the byline this stage of the game, Grant. She just needed to cut that back further for Thomas, who was coming in.
Yeah, I think she's done so well. It's tough at this stage of the game. It's been a tough match, particularly first half. There was a lot of overload on Emma's side, but she's done really well there. I think possibly Martha could get across that front post area, get across the front of the defender and or goalkeeper, just to make that driven pass across the goal like that come off. But yeah, it's good play all round, I think, at this stage in the game.
Jech na rutan bicashin, Jiffer it ar a vich. Cawl game, sa fain rutan as. It's kind of colach, le 3 minutes in idagal. Get a bouillé of a sound to galapa. Howard, Dawlashko, Lee Gibson. Rwy'n Google Fata, Hickelsberger, with the Vengi, Lesha, Noon Hole again again. Thomas, Chinadash, Fiacha, the Rutikaran. Cuthbert, game, Kamasava, the Viech, noch the Jaren Cuthbert. Lawton, het België, maar haar game of the Gilderd. Colley, McCunyev. Corsi, en een keer dat Tosha Gedarneli. Gehannes gaat het klikje naar Sjaar, Gedarneli, en wat zich hier het leeg naar Joshin. Aan de game gauw. Ik kan niet eens een Sluga naar daar winnen, Tjech gedaan, Kelleson. Funge Gosne, hier Funge Sevuyen. Lawton, Achadi, Sharawash, Sinsberger, had took al Shinas in Yer. Vaunje, ik ken me Lawton, Tjech Gale is ook goed. Ach, wij Karen Volle gaan we took al Vuyen stetra. En wel als Sinsberger, Gale is ook goed, dat is. Melissa Andriata Gilorech in de Meurichi. Het is zo als de March en er heel zal op gelijk de Duitsig. Game gemaakt de wisselchen. Get haar orange sabeltje. Try se daar aan je kuju. Lawton. Die is al nog Paul toegezegd. Oh, Luciana mag wel Howard de shit. Agus Rachel de Lickelsche game, kom al het al. Eileen Campbell, agus Kunicha Howard het kars voeien. Lawton het in de laatste kutje. Kon dat de show die is Campbell lacha, maar prachtig zo is naar huis. Agus Noster to Chosk, na Chicken Adaka, Levy, Geno aardige gillen. Na de Hoog, Sinead Geisen, Sophia Hillebrand. Agus Marie-Therese Hobinger, gelukkig dat al je. Julia met de weegje heen en mee aan de paadje. Ja, dat is een beetje getalletjes uit al je. Als je tegen een chicken met jedegen is, weet je, de zuurloortje, de noot dat je maar ha. Kusunek Hillebrand, vuur zuur gaan naar de wal. Schachat een koik minutje te goeie varach, zuur lille, de noot dat van een reetje dat. Hij wordt de mag. Deze torres de Gallische game, kom al het al pikken dik en haast. Chine, halappe, tuchtje maga League, Tolsieske League B, Noster Kienjug. Biasen se dressaatje, daar goed je breelijn voor de gele, die vouwlig eigen naar Schareson, Alexander Schriebel, agus Hickelsberger, hoe het heel tra se darle. Reine Jiffer, het daadskippers van Carabelletje kutjug, maar zeggen je. Verder je gaat chimichele Lee Gibson, dan gaat je de bouwlijn gaan lian. En je zet er ook eentje ille te galap ik het haasken ving. En je zet noster die daar game, maar je zet in de geleeg, daar game machine, en de wie een nieuw jalappen. En je zet alappen en schul gaan een orange gemarst. En je zet geen statig de glutje de hand 8 pro's. En je zet look at that, Hannik van de Pingelees, Kirsty Howard, de Baschke, Hannik, het tuurlijn te galap een neup, je zit in het as voor de watje tarsing. Je Macaulay, Chin van de Pingies, Geno Jiffer, cwtioch gach se droch eiche ile hadda fi iawn dy galapa agus yn sio drys me gedig Hísin Rachel Corsi an y dan halapa cynjoch se y sio a Camden brisich dŵl Híse agus brisich dŵl dy galapa sio a Camden chliach ni alapa nioni yn nostar y hwn.
Tá plaatse Katera Alec blisich dúl de gaan haal te skippen aan te wat niet na halap me ha ach België toch is garretjes daar leven en gewille komen zag ik goed ik niet de saarte Grant Scott het leem she is stayde because we call him the eerst Grant at the end of the day a disappointing night for Scotland but not without its promising moments.
Yes, I think it's always disappointing to lose football matches, and I think the players and staff will feel that. But I think there was a clear reaction in the second half, and far more composure on the ball, a lot more energy in and out of possession, and carved out a couple of opportunities. So, look, it's a sloppy goal to lose. There was a wee break in play, a bit of momentum, a bit of concentration perhaps lost, and these moments are critical. So, you know, everyone will know they're disappointed with that, but yeah, I think there's real positive signs from the second half.
Just how disappointing was it to lose the goal in that fashion?
I probably feel more for the staff at that point. I think because there was an injury, and you've got Emma Watson coming on the pitch and Rachel Corsi's defending, I think, her first set play, and you know, there's probably just a little bit of uncertainty, and look, it's a tricky delivery to deal with, good pace on the ball, and the strikers got in front of the defensive players, so it's always disappointing, those ones, because you practice those a lot.
Scotland were without their chances though, and the changes did make a difference. Martha Thomas and Kirsty Howitt really having an impact.
Yes, I think that's a real positive for us to look at going forward. I think, you know, we're in that little state of flux at the moment between what was our squad and the new players that are coming in, but when you see players like Kirsty, who's had another great season coming in, making an impact, Martha obviously we know well in the squad, yeah, just there's many positives to take, and I think some of those improvements to the team when the substitutions were made are going to be critical going forward. And
Kirsty with her second attempt as well, an audacious attempt I think you might call it, but she'll have done herself no harm in terms of maybe getting a starting slot over in the Netherlands. Yeah,
Kirsty's that type of player. She's so difficult to play against. She's got the tap-in type goal, she's got this type of goal, she can make her own goals. Yeah, she's one of the most underrated players, I think, in our league. But when you see her doing it on this kind of stage, yeah, I think she's done herself no harm there.
How do you think Melissa will reflect on it? Because it was a tough first 45 minutes, but clearly they tweaked and the tweaks seem to change, and that must give her a wee bit of positivity going into what will be a difficult game on Tuesday night. Yeah,
a whole different prospect on Tuesday night, but I think she'll probably have been a little bit disappointed first half. I don't think the energy and the hunger was there evidentially to get us close enough to the opponent, and we conceded a lot of ground and possession to them. So, but I think when you see that kind of reaction from second half, being a bit further up the pitch, closer to the opponent, she'll see some positive signs there, and I think we just need to let her have the time to implement her own vision of how this squad's going to look going forward.
And it will be a squad without Rachel Corsi. We're seeing the images there, her last appearance here at Hampden. She's been some stalwart of this SWNT side.
Yeah, she has. I mean, you know, her record speaks for itself, and I think you saw, you know, no disrespect to Jenna, I think Jenna Clark's a super player, but when you saw Rachel come in at half-time there in the back line, you know, it's underestimated sometimes a player of that stature and experience and calibre that just calms everyone around down. From the first whistle you saw her instructing and making sure everyone's in the right spot, and then her composure on the ball, she really instigated a lot of things going forward, strange as it would be from centre back, but that's the impact of that calibre of player. And look, she deserves a moment to be on the pitch. It's you know, it's never nice to see someone that emotional, but yeah, she'll look back and you know, she's been an incredible servant for the country.
And I suppose we've got to look at the group table. With one game to go, Scotland obviously dropping down to League B, but as yourself and Alec were touching on during commentary there, that may be a blessing in disguise when it comes to maintaining a wee bit of momentum going forward under a new coach.
Yes, I think what it'll do is give the coach enough opportunities to try and implement different things. She'll have a bulk group of players that she can maybe drip 1 or 2 in and out of the squads from time to time, and maybe try 1 or 2 different systems. And yeah, obviously I don't know her absolute thoughts on things, but I think she'll have an opportunity, and it's maybe not necessarily the worst thing to drop down a level, just to give her that opportunity to you know, bleed in new players or new ideas and actually implement her own vision of how the squad should look.
Just very quickly, Grant, what would you change going into that game against the Dutch on Tuesday night ahead of what you've seen, after what you've seen here tonight?
I think it's another opportunity just for Melissa especially to assess what she's got. They'll not be able to play possibly as openly as they did in the second half here tonight, but I think it'll be a different side to the team that she'll be looking to see, and you know, knowing that when we come up against that quality of opposition, that we can do the other part of the game as well, because that will be needed for future qualifying campaigns and things like that. So yeah, it's just another opportunity for her to learn a little bit more about the squad.
Grant, thank you very much indeed for your insight here tonight, and I hope you managed to enjoy what little summer you have left ahead of what is going to be a really interesting season in the SWPL next season. Diolch mas ola sy'n corm y chwydnad cynnig gyfil sy'n gyfi biof a cwchba junior na halap y gwrth jednach edrych Johnston Borough agos trenent sy'n hyn ffisgr yn y sap sioed BBC halap y cedd iwydden agos yn lwrsyn ses yn y hymen y rwy'n arste hyd cwrth jednach môr gan y deis yn edrych can iwsig agos lofat an o cwchbig tafish agos yn lwrsyn cylfod yn oed camanach gopen agos sy'n hyn nes anna mich iddyn na fies sy'n academ ha fwyne agos skipper nawr sy'n halap y cawl ach gylior bylch gyn doch ysyn cos y gwmal doial ysyn y siach yn hyn. Eich ma?